Welcome again, Wildcats. Today we're looking at Wednesday, October 26th, dividing polynomials with long division, and that's going to be on page 26. So if you would, pause your video and update your table of contents. All right, so now your table of contents are updated. Let's look onto the notes. Now what I want you to do is I'm going to slide the paper up, but I want you to write all this down. Then we're going to go over it, but it's going to help you understand if you have all this written down first. So if you would, write it down, pause the video, write it down, pause the video. Again, you're writing down, pause the video, or write down, pause the video. All right, so now I'm assuming that you've written all this down, so let's start going over the notes that are on page 26. Now, before I can explain dividing polynomials with long division, I need to explain long division, okay? So I'm going to explain how to take 93 divided by 4 using long division. All right, so step one is divide. And I want you to think, how many times does 4 go into 9? Okay, so I'm hoping that you catch that 4 goes into 9 2 times. Okay, so now we multiply. 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, so step 3 is to subtract. Well, what is 9 minus 8? 9 minus 8 is 1. All right, so now next step is we bring down. So we're going to bring down the 3, and then we repeat the steps. So how many times does 4 go into 13? Well, 4 goes into 13 3 times. And then we multiply. And we ask ourselves, well, what is 4 times 3? Well, 4 times 3 is 12. Then we subtract. So we say, well, what is 13 minus 2, which is 1. So now we're into the remainder, which is 1. So 93 divided by 4 equals 23. Now, the way you write your remainder is 1 divided by the number outside here. So this number right here. So 1 divided by 4. Now, some of you are probably thinking, well, wait a second, why plus? So I challenge you, in your calculator, I want you to put 93 divided by 4, enter, and then put 23 plus 1/4, enter, and then see what you get. All right, so if you would, update your notes. All right, now that your notes are updated, let's look at the examples. Now, we're going to, using the same steps in basic long division, we're going to use that to do polynomials with long division. So we have x plus 2 divided by I'm going to put a 1 here, 1x squared plus 5x plus 6. So really when doing polynomials, you kind of combine steps 1, divide and multiply in 1. So you ask yourself, what do you multiply 1x by? And you only have to worry about the first term. Okay, 1x times what gives you 1x squared? Well, the answer to that is 1x. So now you're really into step 2, multiply. But you multiply this term times this and this. So 1x times 1x is 1x squared. 1x times 2 is it's technically plus, but I'm not going to write the plus, and I'll show you why in a second. Okay, so 1 times 2x is 2x. Now you subtract. Well, when you subtract a positive, you're really making that a negative. And so if you're subtracting a positive here, you're really making it negative. What I mean by that is if you said 1 minus a positive 2, really what you're saying is 1 minus 2. And if you said 1 minus a negative 2, what you're really saying is 1 plus 2. Okay? So if you do this correctly, this will always cancel. Okay? If this doesn't cancel, then you did something wrong. Now, this doesn't always cancel. This, you usually get a number. So 5x minus, and that's where in step 3 you subtract. So 3x. Now we go to step 4, we bring down. Okay, so we bring down the plus 6. So now we're back to, now we're in step 5, repeat the steps. So, and again, I'm combining step 1 and 2, divide and multiply. Okay, so you ask yourself, well, what do you multiply 1x by to give you 3x? And the answer to that is plus 3. So now we multiply. So 3 times 1x is 3x, and 3 times 2 is 6. We subtract. And again, I kind of showed you what's going on here. So this becomes minus 3x minus 6. This cancels. Your remainder is 0. So you get 1x plus 3 plus 0 divided by 1x plus 2. But technically that's just 0, so you get 1x plus 3. All right, now you should be able to try example 2 on your own. You can try it and also try example 3. So pause the video, try the examples. All right. But remember, if you don't want to try example 2, I'm going to go over example 2 in class, okay? All right, for those of you who tried example 3, now you should be checking your work to see if it aligns with what I'm about to explain. So that's 3x plus 1 divided by 15x squared plus 8x minus 12. All right, so with step 1, step 2 really combine, divide and multiply. So you have to ask yourself, what do you multiply 3x by to give you 15x squared? Well, the answer to that is 5x. And the reason it's an x is because when you multiply x once, you add the x once. So x times x is 1 plus 1, which is x squared. So 3x times 5x is 15x squared. And don't forget, you have to multiply this by both terms. So 5x times 1 is a positive 5x. And again, I should put a plus, but I'm not for the reason I'm about to show you. Now, one of the things I didn't explain in example 1 is that you need to keep the x squareds lined up, the x's lined up, and the constants lined up. Okay, so we subtract using step 3. And again, if you do it right, this should always cancel. So 8x minus 5x is 3x. Now step 4 is to bring down. So minus 12. Now we're into step 5, repeat the steps. Okay, so you ask yourself, well, what do you multiply 3x times 3x to give you, or what do you multiply 3x by to give you 3x? Well, the answer to that is plus 1. So 1 times 3x is 3x. 1 times 1 is 1. Now we're into step 3, which is subtract. So subtract. So then this cancels. You get negative 13. And so that's your remainder. So your answer is 3x plus 1 plus negative 13 divided by 3x plus 1. But really, when you add a subtraction, you're really just subtracting. All right, so let's look at example number 4. All right, now, I don't want you to try example 4 because there's something special about it. And that's why we're doing example 4. So let's do that. So x minus 4 And so now one of the things I didn't talk about is that, see how we have x squared, x constant? Well, that's technically a 1, so 2, 1, and then this is x to the 0, okay? So whenever you're dividing on division, you have to represent all the powers. So x squared, so 2, 1, 0, okay? So you get x squared, x to the fourth minus 3x cubed. I want you to pause and think for a second, well, what are we missing? All right, so I'm hoping you see that we're missing 4, 3, this is a 1. Oh, we're missing 2, so this is a plus 0x squared minus 7x minus 14. Now I'm going to attempt to deliberately make a mistake in this problem. I'm going to hope that you catch it while you're watching me work it, okay? All right, so step 1 and step 2, divide and multiply. So I'm going to put a 1 here, I like 1s here. You have to ask yourself, well, what do you multiply 1x by to give you x to the fourth? Well, it's 1x cubed, because again, when you multiply exponents, you add them. So 1 plus 3 is 4. So 1x times 1x cubed is x to the fourth. So that's 1x to the fourth. But then remember, you multiply here, so that's minus 4x cubed. Well, subtract using step 3. So subtract. So this cancels. You get 1x cubed. So again, you ask yourself, well, what do you multiply? Going back to step, oh, I'm sorry, we're into step 4. So step 4 we bring down. So plus 0x squared. Now we're into step 5. So now you have to ask yourself, well, what do you multiply 1x to give you by to give you 1x cubed? Well, the answer to that is 1x squared. And the reason being is when you multiply x times x squared, 1 plus 2 is 3. So you get 1x squared. Now we're into step 2 multiply. So that's 1x cubed. 1x times negative 4 is a negative 4x squared. Okay, but remember, you subtract, so this becomes subtract plus this cancels. Remember, these should always cancel right here. The first term should always cancel. If they don't, then you made a mistake. So you get 4x squared. Now we're into step 4. Bring down, you get minus 7x. All right, so we have here, you're going to ask yourself, well, what do you multiply 1x times 4x squared to give you 4x squared? Well, the answer to that is plus 1x. 1x times 1x is 1x squared. 1x times negative 4 is a negative 4x. So you subtract. All right, I'm hoping you catch the mistake I just made. And I did this on purpose because if these don't cancel, then you did not put the right number, and I'm doing that on purpose. So since these cancel, you have to go back and ask yourself, well, 1 times 4, 1 times 4x will make this correct. So 4x times 1x is negative 4x squared. And 4x times negative 4 is a negative, sorry, it's a positive. 4x times 1x is 4x squared, and 4x times negative 4 is a negative 16x. All right, so now you subtract. So here, now these cancel. So then that is negative 7x plus 8x is 8x. Okay, now we're into step 4. We bring down. Okay, so then here you have to ask yourself, well, what do you multiply 1x by to give you 8x? Well, the answer to that is plus 8. And I didn't make that mistake, but that's okay, intentionally. But negative 7x plus 16x is actually 9x. So I'm calling this the mistake problem. But mistakes are good because it helps. So this is a 9. So then, let's see. Oh, watch out. All right. So now 9 times 1x is 9x. 9 times negative 4 is a negative 36. Now we're into step 3. Let's see. I'm sorry. Step 3, subtract. So we subtract. That becomes negative. That becomes positive. This cancels. So then you get 22. So we have a remainder. So our answer is 1x minus 4 plus 22 divided by x minus 4. All right. So I'm going to go over example 2 and 5 in class. So finish up your notes and have a terrific Wildcat